Yo, what's up, and welcome to episode 75 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and joining me as always is Woody V.
What's going on, man?
Great to be back, mate. I know we've got a very special guest tonight, so just before we get into that, just a reminder where to find us. Please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube, and of course the podcast is available on all podcast channels. All right, so Woods, I know we've been teasing this for a couple of weeks now, but we've got another very special guest tonight. Right, so this man was born in Bluffton, Indiana, where he became a star at Bluffton High School before being recruited to Michigan State University, where he went on to have a great career and helped his team win their second NCAA championship in 2000. After graduating college with a bachelor's degree in advertising, he went on to play professionally in Australia, as well as NBL off-season stints in New Zealand, Israel, and Puerto Rico. But it is his 12-year career in Australia that Hoops fans remember so fondly, where he spent time with Victoria, Wollongong, Adelaide, and Melbourne, and was named to 5 All-NBL teams. Since retiring from basketball, he stayed in Australia and has become an accomplished artist. It is our absolute pleasure to welcome Adam Ballinger, a.k.a. Balls, to the show.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me. That's a heck of an intro, too. And 75th episode. It's like a milestone episode. It is
a bit. Absolutely.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege.
We had Rashad Kelly from the Jack Jumpers for our 50th episode. That was kind of a bit of a milestone there. So we'll have to make sure we follow that up with a good one for our 100th there as well. So absolute pleasure to have you on. Adam, I know we've been chatting a little bit over the last few weeks, and really appreciate you giving up some time to come on there. Well, Woody, I might take it away and sort of show what I'm wearing this week, right? Because I'm actually not wearing a jersey for the first time in the 75 episodes we've done. But there's a good reason why I'm not wearing a jersey tonight. So I'll just quickly stand up and just show this one so the camera can get it there. And this, of course, is actually artwork that Adam himself has done. So I purchased this shirt from his website a few weeks ago. And it's the 90s sort of legends there. So great T-shirt, this. You can look at this for ages there. I mean, amazing detail into this and just so many just legendary players there. I sort of look at this and take a glimpse at someone every time. You can see D Brown there. I mean, I won't read out all the players. I'll be here all night there. But how long did that design take to put together there, Adam?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for the support and throwing away the jersey for one episode. I appreciate that. But now there's 50 jerseys on there, so maybe that counts as a jersey.
Definitely.
Anyway. That took a long time. So after I retired from playing professionally full time, everyone has the problem of what do you do after you play basketball your whole life, and then what do you do next? I didn't start doing art full time once I retired, but that's when I really started to focus on it and really make it something that I wanted to pursue seriously. And when you do that, you need a reason to stay at the desk. You need a reason to keep going when you're not making money out of it and it's more of a hobby. So I said I'm going to draw the 50 90s NBA legends. And so I just kind of made a list out on, literally wrote it out and just like a checklist of one after the other. And it helped in a way to kind of find a niche in like on social media of people who probably like you guys who are into like all things NBA. So not just watching the games, but, the pop culture side of it too. And it was just something to keep me on track. And by the time you're done with all that, you got a lot of art to do, you make T-shirts out of, or I made some prints out of it and stuff like that, and sold the originals along the way. And but it took probably about a year and a half. But
wow,
it wasn't like I was doing one every, that wasn't the only thing I was doing.
Yeah. Well, Woody and I are huge Atlanta Hawks fans, so we're loving seeing Steve Smith on this one. Smitty from the city there. So
he's Spartan.
Exactly right. So you had to have him on there, right? So Woods, I know I skipped the order a little bit. I'll go back to my jersey in a little bit, but why don't you show everyone what you're wearing today? And there's a little bit of a link back to Balls of the jersey you're wearing as well.
Sure.
So what are you standing up, rocking a Darnell Adelaide 36ers jersey.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah.
I thought that was a Sixers jersey. Yeah.
So I'll let you talk.
I know you like that, Balls, right? I think at the very end of his stint in Wollongong, you had 1 year again when you went to the Kings to that championship run, right? 2004-5.
Yeah, that was probably the best NBL team I played on. Yeah, and Darnell was on that team. Yeah.
Yeah, terrific defensive player, arguably the greatest ever in NBL history. He was selected 34th overall in the second round of the '93 NBA draft by the Golden State Warriors. I remember his time at the Denver Nuggets fondly, Robbie. I think that playoff run where we saw an 8 seed take down a 1 seed this year, right? We got to go back to '94 when that happened, and Darnell played some spot minutes there, coming off the bench on that team that beat the Denver Nuggets team that beat the Sonics, right?
I mean, I've told you that story before, Woods. I remember seeing one of his college games on ABC back in the day, and I think he stood out firstly because of his surname. I don't think I'd ever seen that surname before. And yeah, just a skinny sort of, long sort of guy, and just an amazing defender, like you said.
Yeah, and after his short stint in the NBA, he's played all over the world. Most memorable times were in the NBL, where he played with the Wollongong Hawks, as we mentioned, the Cairns Taipans, and the Adelaide 36ers and Canberra Cannons. So also got to represent Australia, I think, in 2007 or 8 in the FIBA Oceanic Games, or one of those tournaments. So he's been a great ambassador for Australian basketball, and I think he's back in coaching now in the US, right? So
interesting. What were your memories of him there, Balls?
Yeah, just like kind of could do it all on the court. Just a long, like 6'7", but just long and athletic. Didn't say much, and didn't necessarily care about scoring as much as he did kind of like running the game. Like he was definitely a coach out there on the court. Someone who the coach trusted to have the ball in their hands and like kind of conduct things the way he wanted them to go. And it was kind of, if we needed a couple baskets, he'd do that. If we needed, to get other guys involved. But then every now and then he'd come with a sneaky, like incredible dunk. He could block shots, and like you said, defensively, he was probably maybe, I guess you said he might have been the best defensive guard ever. So I don't say I could say underrated, but maybe that doesn't get talked about enough when people do talk about his game.
Yeah, I mean, everyone puts Damian Martin there, as the greatest defensive sort of guard. But, Damian Martin even credits playing against Darnell a lot in his early years and learning to play defense from him. So he gets slept on quite a lot, right? So
yeah, I probably forgotten. Yeah, Damian, he was Australian born and Perth legend, NBL legend. So he might have earned it. But no, Darnell was a special player, and I didn't know he was on that Nuggets team that beat the Sonics. You always see the Kimbe on the ground.
That's
it. Yeah. I didn't know he was on that team.
Yeah.
Very cool. I appreciate that one, Woods. Well, I'll just tell a quick little story about the jersey I'm hanging up there. Obviously, I've shown the T-shirt I'm rocking today. So, yeah, hanging behind me is none other than a Jason Richardson yellow Golden State. It's a Reebok jersey, that one. Had to check what brand it is. So, a little bit on Jay Rich there. He played 14 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted by the Warriors at pick 5 in the 2001 draft out of Michigan State. So Jay Rich played with the Warriors, Bobcats, Suns, Magic and 76ers. Accolades were, of course, an NCAA champ with the Spartans in 2000, which we'll certainly talk about later. He had numerous college awards. He was a 2-time NBA slam dunk champ, an all-rookie first team. Ended his career with a scoring average of 17 points a game, so he could certainly fill it up there. Richardson's now 42 years old, plays in the Big 3 competition for Tri-State. So certainly someone I enjoyed back there. What were your memories of Jay Rich all those years ago there, Adam?
Yeah, just first of all, just a good dude, just like a great, it was important for, the guys that were recruited were, had to be really good players, but they also had to be good teammates. Just a really good teammate, fun guy to hang out with, but then on the court, just like a freak, like you just like, you look at him and you think, man, he was just like made to play basketball. Like he was probably, how tall is he? He's probably listed at 6'6", maybe 6'7".
Yeah.
Huge hands. He had like I wore size 17 shoes, but he did too. I was a lot taller than he did, but size 17 feet, and just long and like wiry and skinny. And then, the way he could jump was, I mean, I don't know, like it seems like guys jump higher and higher now every year now. But back then, the way he could take off on 2 feet, he won 2. Probably he should have won 3 in NBA dunk contests. And just like to be in practice with a guy like that, like every day he's doing something that you haven't seen before. I remember somehow I'd always be behind him in layup lines. So he'd go up and do some incredible dunk, and then what was I supposed to do? Like, no, the crowd didn't want to see my one-handed power slam. So
did he ever dunk on you in practice at all? Or?
Yeah, I got him a couple times too. I blocked him a couple times, but he dunked on everybody.
I'm sure
he had games where 2 or 3 dunks on people in games. But one time I blocked his shot, and he came down harder on his wrist. And for a second there, we were worried it might have been broken. I thought, I'm going to be in trouble here, knocking out Jay Rich for some games. But he was fine. He's a competitor.
Nice. And putting you both on the spot there. So I mentioned he was pick 5 in that 2001 draft. Do you guys remember the 4 players that were drafted ahead of him in that draft?
2001.
No.
2001. You guys would know better than me.
Elton Brand and Steve Francis, maybe?
Nah, so it's after that. I'll tell you. So Kwame Brown was that year, number 1. Yeah. Tyson Chandler, 2. Pau Gasol, 3. And Eddie Curry, 4. Right. So it was definitely in that era where bigs were getting drafted a lot. A few other teammates of yours were drafted in that year as well, their balls. So Zebo at pick 19. A player that I don't really remember a whole lot about, but Andre Hudson at pick 51. So never played in the NBA, but had quite a successful career in Europe. Then there was also another one that went undrafted in Charlie Bell. Actually went on to play 376 games, which is a pretty amazing effort there. So any quick thoughts on any of those guys there?
I mean, just all great, all awesome, like, competitors. And you kind of had to be to go through what the demands of playing at Michigan State, and it was good times, but it was hard work too. But so Charlie Bell was just like he had a motor that wouldn't stop defensively. We always put him on the other team's best player. Could rebound, one of the best rebounding guards I've ever seen, and a great shooter. He broke all of Glenn Rice's scoring records in high school in Michigan. And then, so he got, I'm not surprised he had such a good NBA career just because of the type of player he could be. But, I mean, I probably wasn't flashy enough to be drafted. But, like, he was good friends with, I remember talking to Andrew Bogut at Boomers Camp or something like that. And him and Andrew Bogut were pretty good friends. Yeah. They both played on the Bucks. Andre Hudson was so solid. Like, he was undersized, so he's probably 6'6", 6'7". But just for him to get drafted is just shows you how good he was. Never played in the NBA, but he was just like, I just remember, like, I just think he never missed any 12-foot baseline jumper he ever took. He shot like 100% on. So he just never made any mistakes. Just really, really good guy to count on. And then Zebo was an anomaly. I don't know. He's like 6'8", can't jump, not terribly athletic or quick, but just his hands were like magnets to the ball. Like he knew where to be. He could score. Once the ball's in his hands, he could just so crafty around the rim and just kind of relentless with his rebounding and stuff. But, I don't know. Like he could just like naturally go out there and get every rebound and score around the hoop, and you couldn't stop him. And he's playing against guys, that are 4 or 5 inches taller than him and so much more athletic. But for him, he surprised me. With his NBA career did surprise me a little bit with, he's pretty immature. He went to school for 1 year and came out and went to the Blazers. And he really kind of really matured and turned into like just a good guy for his community and everything, and just an unbelievable career.
So you probably tried to get behind him in the layup line, I guess, rather than Jay Rich.
I did. Bad for once I challenged him to a dunk contest during the middle of the season, the doldrums of the season, I remember, and just we were talking, trash back to each other a little bit and joking around, and then I challenged him to a dunk contest, and I beat him. It was a unanimous decision from the team and the coaches that from our 3 dunks I won, although didn't help my draft status or anything.
Nice. All right. Well, I thought we might sort of, talk a little bit about your career, Adam. As Woody calls it at this point, we're going to chop it up a bit there. So, got a few things we wanted to sort of go through. So sure. I guess we'll start off with, what it was like for you growing up in Bluffton, Indiana, and who were your early influences in getting you into basketball?
Well, so when my dad played in Indiana, that's what you do. You play basketball. You watch basketball. You talk about basketball. But the high school basketball, the high school team was a big thing. So in a small town, I'm sure you both have seen the movie Hoosiers.
Yep.
Sure.
It was we weren't as good as them, but that's what everyone's talking about on Sundays at church and at the barber shops and stuff like that. And it's what I wanted to do. And my influences were like guys who were older than me playing high school basketball there for the town, and just wanting to be like them and wanting to be able to play on Friday and Saturday nights in front of a big crowd. Our school had about less than 500 kids, and we sat our gymnasium sat like 3,500 people, and it was by my senior year, every game was packed. It's just a big deal, like just high school basketball, and that drove me to want to be as successful as I could in high school, and then take it from there.
Did you get the size from your dad as well there, Adam? Obviously, you're a really big guy, and you mentioned the size 17 shoes there. Did that sort of come from your dad at all? Or?
Yeah, my dad's about 6'5", 6'6". Mom's
Okay.
about 5. She's about 5'9", probably. Yep. I'm the tallest though on both sides of my family, even like uncles and cousins and stuff like that. And I got 4 brothers and sisters, and I'm quite a bit taller than they were too. I don't know what happened, but they're a little bit jealous, I think.
Something was in the water there.
Yeah.
And obviously, basketball was such a big thing for you. Did you play any other sports growing up in Indiana there? And did you have a favorite NBA team or a favorite player growing up?
Oh, yeah. So other sports, like when you're a kid, you just kind of do everything. I played a lot of backyard football, and then, I played a little bit of football in 7th and 8th grade. And high school, tennis for a couple of years, and I ran track just to stay active, just for something to do. But basketball quickly became the kind of, my focus. Let's see here. But my favorite teams, so my first jersey I ever got, like practice jersey, was the number 33. And I was like, I thought, oh, who's number 33? And of course, Larry Bird, but also Patrick Ewing had that number 33. And they had just brought out their new logo. You remember the Knicks logo was like the 70s, 80s was just the basketball with the Knicks above it.
Yep.
And then they rebranded to the tougher looking font and the triangle kind of behind that basketball. I just remember seeing that and being like, yeah, that's my team. And Patrick Ewing is my favorite player. And ever since then, that's been my go-to team. But I've never been able to top the feeling of following them in the 90s, those teams. And just so much fun to watch them against. They never got over the hill of Jordan, but no one did back then.
Well, Woody's certainly a big Ewing fan as well, so you two got that in common.
Yeah, really? Love Patrick Ewing. You talk about all those centers in the 90s, he was up against. He might not have been he was very skillful, but people talk about Robinson, Olajuwon, Mourning, or, Brad Daugherty. There's a lot of greats, and Rick Smith, even Mutombo. There was a lot of them in that period. He's the one guy that stands out for me, man, because I just love the way he went about playing the game. He would sweat in the snow, right? He would do anything. He would do anything for that team, and that Knicks team was real fun to watch, man. So I like your artwork as well that you've done with, I think he's got Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley,
John Starks,
and Patrick Ewing. Love that, by the way. So
yeah. I just love the way he looked, just the way he carried himself, and how tough those teams were. But then he also had his own shoes, like he had his own Ewing brand of shoes.
Yep.
Which when I was in middle school getting those East Bay catalogs, you guys ever get East Bay catalogs over here? Was that
I've ordered those in the past. Yep.
So we used to get them every month, and it was just a big deal to go through there and just his own shoes and everything, and the whole New York thing was just, it couldn't have been any cooler in my mind.
I got a pair of his kicks here. So.
Yeah, I do too. Actually, they brought them back out.
Yeah.
I got them for like $40 or something.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you speak about enjoying other sports and whatnot. You obviously started taking basketball really seriously and spoke about how you could make a career of it, Adam. Take us back to 1998 when you were recruited to play with Michigan State. What was that process like? And did you ever consider other colleges? I mean, Indiana comes to mind, right? So
yeah. Well, growing up as a 6'9" white kid from a small town in Indiana that can shoot, every kid dreams of going to IU to play basketball there or Purdue. But, IU still back then, they had Bob Knight, and they got all the big recruits. And they were the first school to. I just, when it started to become, a reality that I could get a scholarship to play basketball somewhere. My goal was I just wanted to go to the biggest, like the highest school I could go to as far as like conference, like Big Ten or ACC and whatever, a bigger school like that. And Indiana was the first school to start recruiting me. I was kind of set. That's where my dad wanted me to go. Like he never pushed me anywhere, but it's a big deal to have your son go to IU and when you're living in Indiana and play for Bob Knight. But we went down there a couple times, watched practice a couple times, a couple games, and it was apparent that there were some problems down there at the school. That was the kind of the end of his tenure there.
Yeah.
He had come out and gotten in trouble for choking one of his players. That was all kind of happening at that time, and you hear rumors and stuff, and talk to some players, and I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't like I was saying definitely not, but it didn't feel great. And then, so some other schools were like most of the Big Ten schools, like Northwestern, Illinois, probably. I don't know. It's hard to remember, but probably half the Big Ten schools, let's say, they kind of wanted me. And then I took one visit to Michigan State, one official visit, met the coaches and the campus and the players, and that was just I committed not long after that. It was pretty apparent that was they were on the up, and it would look like a great place to go. It was also not that far away. So I'm from northeastern Indiana. It was just up the road, up 69, the highway. So it's about 2.5 hour drive. It was about the same distance to IU, so that helped.
We know obviously Michigan State's got an absolute legendary coach in Tom Izzo there. He was kind of just starting out though, wasn't he? Around that time, I think he'd been coaching maybe 3 or 4 seasons. Did he have a lot of pull in that sort of time then, or was he sort of still getting used to that whole head coaching role there?
No, he was still getting he was ready to coach. I don't know that he ever was just getting used to it. He was under Judd Heathcote for a long time, and then once Judd retired, Coach Izzo got the job, and it was shaky, like it is for a lot of coaches when you start. Like he was there for I think 2 or 3 years, and then once the year before I got there, they made the Elite Eight, I think, in the NCAA tournament, which was a big deal for Michigan State. At that time, it had been a long time since they were successful, especially in the tournament. So that was when he started to that was his kind of rise in coaching, and then I get there, and then it wasn't because of me, but I just kind of jumped on at the right time, and so that was the Elite Eight. Then my first year there, which was a redshirt freshman year because of injury, we made the Final Four, and then the 3 Final Fours in a row, won it in 2000, and ever since then he's been a legend of coaching, not just in college, but even in NBA teams we're trying to get him pretty much every year after that.
And that was only the second victory in NCAA for Michigan State, right? They won with Magic Johnson in 79, so you guys in 2000. So was that 79 team still pretty revered for you guys then? Obviously, there would have been a lot of Magic Johnson sort of, traces or, jerseys retired on the walls and things like that. But
oh, yeah. Magic is always and always will be connected to that school. He was around, he came back a lot in the summers, talked to the team probably once a year. But yeah, everyone knows about that game and that championship because that was him and Bird going against each other in the national championship. But then, we were able to do it in 2000, and since then, no Big Ten team has won a national championship, which isn't good. It's been too long. 23 years is too long.
It is interesting, yeah. You talked about some of those former teammates early on. There was 2 other guys I wanted to touch on as well, and probably the heart and soul of that team that won it there in Mateen Cleaves, and also another guy that I know Woody and I were both big fans of in Mo Peterson there, Mo Pete. So, what are your sort of memories on those guys? I mean, I mentioned Charlie Bell before. He went on to play 376 games as an undrafted player. Mateen Cleaves only played maybe 150 or so games there. What were your sort of memories going back with Cleaves and Peterson?
Well, Mateen Cleaves, his personality and his work ethic and his style of game fit Coach Izzo to a T. They were, that was his son that he never actually, it wasn't really his son, but they're cut from the same mold. Like Mateen is just he's a football player in high school, quarterback. Coaches that love football players. But he's just a guy, like, his energy never stopped. He never stopped energy-wise, never stopped talking. He ran the team. He was tough as nails, like, defensively. Not a great shooter, but streaky, and he could hit the big shot. And, the way that the kind of the faith Coach Izzo had in him just drove him to, like, be one of the best, college basketball players, certainly at that time, and drove his draft status up, which was deserved. He got the NBA, and I don't know. I know him now, and I see him when I go back, but I think he went to Detroit. He was from Detroit or that area.
Yep.
I think it might have been better for him to go, get out of that, away from the people who were around him at that time. But, I don't know. He just had an incredible college career. He was an incredible leader, and just someone to watch play the game was just unbelievable. But, he wasn't a scorer, so probably didn't convert as well to the NBA. But I think to maybe going to so close to home was also something that maybe he could change. He would have changed, but I don't know. And then Morris, did you ask me about Morris?
Yeah. Give us a Mo Pete story.
Well, him and Mateen were just thick as thieves, but they were both from Flint.
Along with Charlie Bell, right?
So was Charlie, and so was another guy named Antonio Smith. So the four, they call them the Flintstones. So Morris came in not highly recruited. He was about 6'7", chubby, out of shape, and then through he was there for 4 years, and through those 4 years. And then, could shoot and could run, and his game really translated really well to the NBA.
Yeah, well, you speak of the NBA, Adam. I think 2003, after a storied college career, you went undrafted before you moved down under and had a great career here. What happened there? Was there, workouts with NBA teams? Was there an opportunity there potentially for you to go and play in the big show?
I think there was at one time. So I had a really good junior year. So for a long time, I was very much a role player, and then I had kind of a breakout season. Junior year, I think I made some all Big Ten teams, and was kind of set up to have a good. Well, not kind of. It definitely was all working out, and I was set up to have a really good senior year, and hopefully, everybody's dream is to play in the NBA, but hopefully get looked at a little bit for. To get drafted, or even whatever, make a roster or whatever. But I didn't have a good senior year at all. I started out kind of pretty good, and then took a dive, and it was the first kind of slump I'd ever had in my life, basketball wise, and I didn't handle. I mean, I kept going, kept working as hard as I could, but if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have taken it so seriously. I was like, if you miss a couple shots, or you have a bad game, it's not the end of the world. Back then, it was everything to me. So, didn't work out for me my senior year, and so the NBA, you kind of miss that window. And the window's gone. But then, it led me to here. It led me to a long career of playing basketball, and ultimately, that's what I wanted to do. I love the game, but I also love playing the game. Like I want to play basketball. So. Out here playing in Australia and coming here allowed me to do that and be a big part of teams and good teammates and plenty of really, really good experiences.
Well, not only playing, it led to a lot more great things in your life. We'll get to that in a second, but yeah. Right.
How did that come about with you sort of getting, I guess, that first gig here playing with the Victoria Giants there, Balls? Did you know much about Australia before arriving here?
No, I didn't know anything about Australia. I was a typical American that, doesn't know anything about outside of America. I didn't know much about outside of Indiana, really. But I knew they wanted me to play basketball and they were going to pay me money. But it was two guys. Remember Mike Chappelle, Dave Thomas?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I played with them, and they were out here playing at the time. They highly recommended it. Their agent helped me get out here. And it didn't take much. There's a team out here that wants you, and I just was like, yeah, great, I'll go there. And I didn't even know, embarrassingly enough, I did not even know where Melbourne was in Australia until a few days before I left. I thought, oh, I might as well look it up where I'm even going. But I was just happy to go somewhere and just play some basketball.
You mentioned Dave Thomas and Mike Chappell there. They were both, I think, with the Canberra Cannons, I think, from memory, weren't they, for a year before? Really remember Dave Thomas fondly there. He was a great player there. Had some really good times for Melbourne there. What were those two guys like?
No, two good guys again, but Mike was a shooter. He's a scorer. He played for 2 years at Duke. I think he started as a freshman, then transferred to Michigan State. Just like 6'8", 6'9", shooter. And DT was another guy. I would say he's kind of Darnell me-like.
Yep.
Not as athletic,
but
you could play all like 4 or 5 positions, probably 4 positions. Just kind of could do it all, defensively. And there was a time at Michigan State, Mateen, he got an injury, he's hurt his foot or something like that. He was out for like 10 games, and DT actually stepped in and played point guard for us on that. I think that was the year we won the national championship.
He was a Canadian as well from
memory, played for the Canadian national team. Had some great, Yeah, well, speaking of that team, there was another interesting personality on that team. Current Phoenix Suns owner and also Phoenix Mercury owner.
Topical,
Man Ishbia, right? He was a walk-on, right? I think.
So Ish and I would consider him one of my best friends, honestly.
Oh, word. Nice. Yeah.
We came in the same year. I didn't know, I was the only scholarship player to come in that year, in 98, 99. I met him the first day of school. And, he said, he introduces himself. He said, I'm walking onto the team. And we've been friends ever since. Just a really unique guy, obviously. But, mostly walk-ons don't usually last very long, probably 1 or 2 years. But he was different. Like he ingratiated himself onto the team pretty quickly, and it was pretty clear that he wasn't just a guy who was there to just make up the numbers. He competed. He his mind, like he knew all the plays. He knew all the teams we played against plays. He's a smart guy, and just another good guy to hang out with. And we got a lot of memories. So we went to school together for 5 years. A lot of house parties and eating pizza late at night together, and been through a lot. But then, and then he went to work for his dad afterwards, and then he's certainly made a name for himself.
You still in touch?
Yeah, I saw him. We talked quite a bit. I don't bother him a whole lot. He's got a lot on his plate. But whenever we go home, we just went up and saw him. My family went up to see him and his family for a night there when we were home about 2 months ago. He makes time, man. He makes time for the people that were in his life before he became multi-billionaire.
So is he going to reach out to you for any coaching tips as well for that Phoenix Suns role now? Or?
No, he didn't ask me. Yeah, he didn't ask me whether he should get KD or fire Monty or anything like that. I don't know if that was his decision, but I told him the KD trade was a good move, and he appreciated that, I think.
Nice.
Well, Adam, you did mention earlier that you were typical American. You thought there was kangaroos in Australia. You didn't know where Melbourne was, all that, right? Yeah. I mean, you've joined a long list of Americans that have come here to Australia and they've never gone home, right? After being born in Indiana, the last thing you expected was to end up here, have kids, get married to an Australian, settle down here. How does it feel to call this place home? And going back to the States, you do that quite often, obviously, from what you've just mentioned as well, right? To visit family and whatnot.
Yeah, I wish there was more often because of COVID and stuff. It was about 5 years since we went back as a family.
Sure.
But I mean, it's like growing up in Indiana, and I never thought in a million years I'd live somewhere else other than that. But you go where life takes you, and then I was lucky enough to come out here and play. And then a couple months after being out here, I met my wife Bianca, and we've been together ever since. We met the night we met. We haven't left each other's side. So,
awesome.
yeah, that's just, I don't know, it just happens. I didn't plan that, and she didn't either. But I'm from a small town about 10,000 in Indiana, and she's from Swan Hill, which is a small town of about 10,000 in country Victoria. So
Yep.
a lot of similarities, even though we grew up a long way away from each other. But it's a great place to live. Like, it's not, it's, you grow up thinking America's the best at everything, and then you kind of travel a little bit and widen your horizons, and you realize, I don't know, Australians, we got it pretty good.
Definitely, definitely. I'm from India originally with 1 billion people in it. So my
Yeah.
relatives tell me you live in a massive place with hardly any people in
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know what I
There's no
mean?
one
So
here.
it's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, right.
Just too far away. Australia's too far away
That's
from everything.
true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true. That's true. That's the one knock. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about what you're doing now, Adam. Obviously, we mentioned at the start of the show, since retiring, you've turned a hobby into a bit of a business there with your artwork there. Talk to us a little bit about that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, your mother was an art teacher going back in the day
Yeah,
there. So,
mom was an art teacher, and she's just kind of like endlessly creative. Like, she
mm,
kind of can't sit down, and she's still the same way. She just like always like needing to do something creatively, and she's got about 10 projects going at one time. But I've always been interested in like art slash, like lowbrow art, like skateboard art, I guess you would call it. And then that kind of led to discovering kind of comic books, and a like graphic storytelling medium, and then going from that to art books and kind of learning everything I could about the trade. And then I always just kind of had a pencil in my hand, just doodling, but nothing too serious. And then I don't know, it's just something I have to do. Like, if I wanted to stop, I couldn't. Like, I could just try and say I'm going to quit this tomorrow, and then I'd be back at it a day later. It's just something that it's kind of in me. The creative pursuit of I like making things with my hands, like illustration. I don't know, it just makes sense to me. And I've worked pretty hard to kind of make a niche for myself, with sports art and kind of that caricature artwork. And yeah, it's one thing to draw and make art and be creative and stuff like that, but it's another thing to have people actually care about it, pay attention to it. So it hasn't come without a lot of work, but I'm definitely really like appreciative of it.
how much time would you spend on something? I mean, we talked before we hit the record button today. You just recently did a Wu-Tang character sort of picture of the Wu-Tang clan there we saw on Twitter there. How long would, say, something like that, for example, take you to do?
Well, that one I did like head by head, like face by face.
Mm.
It's hard because, and this is why it's hard to make money out of it, because artists don't necessarily think like businessmen. It's, if I charge by the hour, I don't know, I'd be making very little money per hour.
Mm.
But because I enjoy it, you kind of there's a balance there. But I don't know how long that took. A long time. I just did one after the other. It would take me, if I was going to do one, I don't know, say I'm working on this, what I would do today. I did a Steve Nash. I just penciled it out today. But if I was doing this job full time, which I'm not right now, but if I was back to doing it full time, it would take, I don't know, 2 work days to do one start to finish. If I got really lucky and did a long day, I could do it in one day. But I do everything by hand. So pretty much all the, the penciling, the inking, and the coloring, I do it all by hand. So that's why it takes a little bit longer.
Oh, that's awesome. Look, certainly at the end of the show, we'll get you to give a bit of a plug and everything else like that. And we'll certainly put that on our socials and everything for your web address there. But look, I really appreciate the chat there, Adam. It's great, sort of a bit of a trip down memory lane and learning sort of how you ended up eventually becoming an Aussie citizen and being out here. One more thing I wanted to ask as well. I didn't sort of have on the run sheet, but I do recall you maybe trying out for the Boomers. I think at one stage there. Is that right? What's your recollection of that?
Yeah, it would have been about 2008. It wasn't an Olympic year. It wasn't a world championship year. There was some tournaments. I think they were going to Brazil, and then some qualifying things. Brett Brown was the coach. I got invited to the Boomers camp, which was a big deal, like it's pretty cool to not be invited to a camp in a country I didn't grow up in, but really felt honored to be there. I made the team. It wasn't like wasn't all the big NBA guys there at that particular camp, but some pretty good players, of course, obviously. Made the team, but I had to decline it because my son, our middle son, was being born. So I said I couldn't go on the first trip, and when, it's another thing like that window. You got such a small window to be available for things and to try and make teams and stuff like that. And so it never happened that I actually played on a team, but it was great to be considered for it.
No, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. Well, no, thanks for the chat there, Adam. I thought we might just have a quick chat, maybe about sort of the NBA playoffs. I thought obviously we'd sort of talk about, the conference final matchups are both set. Started off today with the Denver and the Lakers playing game one. I might throw it over to both you guys, just what your sort of thoughts are on these two series that we've got there. Maybe, Adam, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this Denver and Lakers series?
All my thoughts kind of come from Bill Simmons. I've been a Bill Simmons follower for a long time.
Me too.
So I listen to his podcast. Him and Ryan Rossillo.
Ryan Rossillo,
Yeah. They just need every day, just make a podcast every day. Listen to that. I don't know, like it's just with the things that LeBron has been able to do, it's no secret how incredible he's been over such a long period of time. They talk about now how intelligent he is and how he kind of paces himself, even like throughout the game, and you can kind of see his mind ticking over on, okay, I need to do this now, or like, I need to expend this amount of energy, or I need to be out now for these 5 minutes. And to watch him going against a guy like Jokic, who just he looks like the best teammate ever. Just like he doesn't care about any acknowledgement. He doesn't want to talk about himself. He had a triple-double today that no one's done. Oh, two other. Some crazy stat.
Kareem and Wilt have done it. 30-20 triple-double in playoffs.
Yeah.
And,
we're talking about like Wilt Chamberlain and guys like that aren't doing these types of things. And that contrasting, like LeBron looks like he was, cut from granite. And I always say Jokic looks like a walking like bag of milk. So it's fun to watch those two guys go at it.
It was a great game today too, wasn't it? Game one, obviously, Denver really had a big lead in the first half. Woods, what are your thoughts on that game? I know you got to catch that today.
I did. I really enjoyed it. So you talk about the Joker being such a great teammate. He just wants to get his mates involved, make them feel like they're seeing a basket going, which is going to build their confidence, right? Which is terrific. He said that in his interview at the end of the game. The Lakers really picked it up in the second half because we weren't playing team basketball, right? In that first quarter, he had, 12 rebounds, 8 points, 5 assists in the first quarter, right? This guy is just unbelievable. He just makes the right play every time, he makes the right basketball play. So I think this is going to be a great series. Denver's looking good, but Lakers just found something in that second half with Rui Hachimura coming on. So I think that... Man, it could go either way. It's a toss of a coin, this series for me, but I think it could go to 6 or 7, right? I'm going to go Lakers in 7, actually. All right?
Well, Woods, give us some thoughts on the other series as well. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm thinking that could be a pretty short series in the East.
Miami and Boston. I mean, Miami's done great just to get here. Any word on Tyler Hero? He's not back?
Still not back, no.
Oladipo's up. But these guys have been playing above their weight, man, and all those guys we mentioned, coming out of nowhere. Duncan Robinson coming back playing, Kyle Lowry coming off the bench, Jimmy Butler putting the team on his back. You don't know. We've been saying this whole time. They're not going to do this, right? And Boston, they got pushed against Atlanta. They got pushed against Philly, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to be as easy as you think. I think that could be I think Boston will win, but it could go to 5-6 games, I think, right?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that series, Balls?
Well, I mean, I counted. I thought the Heat had no chance against the Bucks. Then I thought, the Knicks. Yes, we got the Heat. We're gonna.
Yep.
They were clearly the better team. They looked like clearly the better team in both series. So my son is a Heat fan. He's same thing. He discovered the logo when he was really young, and he's been a crazy Heat fan ever since. So we watch Heat games whenever he can. And what Jimmy Butler did against the Bucks in those last 2 games was. I mean, they were down 6 in the fourth, and he was telling Drew Holiday, one of the best defenders in the NBA, like, you can't handle me, like, you can't guard me, like, and they're still down 6, and he's yelling it in his face, and they still came through and came back. Like, he was right. He couldn't guard him. I don't know. I love watching Jimmy Butler and the Heat, the zombie Heat. But
Mm.
I think, if I was going to bet money on it, I would say the Celtics.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it might be a gentleman's sweep, maybe Boston getting the 4-1 win. But yeah, like you said, though, Miami have sort of surprised in all these series there. I think they've been the underdog in every series and continued to win there. So can't put it past them again. And
Man,
Boston have been a little bit shaky, I guess, at times.
they have been, right? Honestly, Miami, even if they end up losing the series, they just get a few other pieces around there next year. They've made so much noise with the limited roster. Who knows what they can come back next year in the East and do, right? So
Good stuff. Well, look, I thought we'd just finish off with a very quick NBL question there, Adam. So, look, Woody and I are both huge fans and advocates of the NBL. Just wanted to see, do you get to follow the league much these days? And maybe what some of the differences are that you see since you stopped playing in 2015?
Yeah, I definitely follow. So I work for Melbourne United. So I work.
Sure.
I'm a community coach for them. I've taken over Waza's job. Warwick, Giddy, and so I'm around it a lot more in these last couple of years than I ever was after I had retired. And it's pretty amazing to see the amount of work, especially with United. I can't speak for other teams, but the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes. When you're playing, you think it's just all about the team. And when you're in the front office, which I'm around, I wouldn't call myself a front office person, but you just see how much goes on behind the scenes too, and like how both kind of need to be in sync for teams to win championships. But yeah, so I definitely want United to win every single game. But they're, it's good basketball. Like, I coach a rep team, and I just tell them, like, you should be watching the NBL. You should be watching games, full games, not just don't look on the highlights. Don't watch on TikTok. Watch these NBL games. Watch how these players move, how they play, the skill that they have, and just watch. Like, how are these baskets being scored? Like, team movement and stuff like that. Guys move out the ball. I just think it's the quality of the games has gotten so much better, and it's just it's going up and up. There are 10 teams now, and there'll probably be more here the next couple of years. And it's just the rise of the NBL over the past few years has been really cool to see and kind of be a part of.
Do you miss the 48-minute era, or you cool with the 40-minute stuff?
Yeah, I like 48-minute era because you can score more points.
Yeah,
you play more games. I don't know. I think it probably was I don't know. Was it a good idea? I guess they wanted to be more in line with FIBA, but then even now, I think there's the NBL has really, really close ties to the NBA. So, I mean, I liked 48 minutes better because you get a chance to score more points and play more. But I don't know that it is made. I couldn't say if. I mean, do you think it's made much difference as far as the games, or like even the league being seen a different way?
I just think that I'm a stickler for history, right? Statistics and things that have happened before. All the records that have been set by your Andrew Gazers, scoring records, Darnell Mees steals records and stuff, that he's done in a game over 48 minutes. How are you going to do it in 40 minutes? It's not fair, right? Because those records are not going to ever be broken. You've done the 48-minute era for so long. So you've got to almost have a new set of records for since the 40-minute era started. So it's that's the one that I don't. That's the one thing I don't like. The reason they did it for 40 minutes because for TV time they wanted to fit it into 2 hours. That's what I heard. The initial reason they did it. As far as everything else goes, whatever. The entertainment value is great now. You've got great players coming here. All eyes are on the league, so you can't really complain in that sense, as you alluded to, right? And your Melbourne United, good news today, getting Matthew Dellavedova back to add amongst, that roster is looking really strong this year. I'm a Sydney fan. Robbie's originally from Perth, so we got three sides of the coin on this call right here. So
do you know if their roster's done now, Adam, with getting Delhi there? Because I've heard they might still be able to get an import spot, but then I'm not sure if he counts as a marquee player. I'm not sure if you know.
No, I don't. I don't know everything, but I knew Delhi was coming for a while. But I don't. I think that there still is at least one import spot to fill. Don't quote me on that. But
they've had a good off season. Wow.
Yeah, all our locals are filled, and then they're working on an import, which is always a risky thing. Like they do all that recruiting and all that video watching and stuff. And it's like you never know what you're going to get until they show up.
No, good.
Armani Brooks' name's been thrown out there by Olgan.
Yeah,
you know, Olgan usually knows what he's talking about,
yeah,
right?
He's normally onto something, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Well, no, I really appreciate the chat today, Adam. We'll just go to a quick outro. So, look, just wanted to mention, as I said at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, just a reminder where we can be found. We're on Twitter at Throwbacks Hoops. We're on Instagram at throwback.hoops. And, of course, our email address, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Woods, you want to give your shout-outs?
Look, I mean, I know you guys have been sending in a lot of questions. We've had quite a few guests on lately. We're sorry. Keep sending in the questions. Robbie and I'll put an episode aside just to answer those in a mailbag episode. Thanks to everyone for their support and jumping on Patreon and subscribing to us. Can't thank you enough. Yeah.
Good stuff. And Adam, we'll finish with you, mate. So, look, where can people follow you? Where can people go on and purchase things from your website? Give us a few plugs there.
Yeah, I wish that's another thing I need. I need like a business manager or something to get better at. So I'm only on Twitter. That's the only place that I really kind of put my heart out. So you can just, if you go on Twitter, you just search Adam Ballinger art and I'll come up. And then through that, you can find the link to just a T-shirt site right now. Like I said, like I gotta put some work in on that's the stuff that's not as fun though. I don't like doing that. I like making the art, and then promoting it isn't quite as fun. But yeah, if you just get on Twitter and then you got questions or anything, just DM me. I'm pretty active on that.
Good stuff. And yeah, certainly enjoy all the content that pops up on Twitter, all the various sort of pictures and everything else like that. It's always fun to see those. And you met my daughter before the show, Adam. I'm always showing her. She's just blown away with your drawing there. It's an amazing talent you've got there, obviously, to go with being such a great basketball player. Well, yeah, look, just really wanted to thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you. Woods, you got any final words for the day?
He's a great basketball player, great artist, but more importantly, he's a great guy. Adam, we really appreciate your company today, brother.
Kind words, man. I'm coming back on anytime I want to feel better about myself, man. I appreciate it.
Good stuff. All right, we just wanted to really thank everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and peace out from the Throwback Hoops crew.
Peace.